definitely somebody. Okay, it is now 6 o'clock, and we are going to start the planning commission meeting. Please rise for the flag salute. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, roll call, please.
Commissioner Blakely. Commissioner Bradley.
Present.
Commissioner Halley.
Here.
Commissioner McClendon. Here. Chairman Mobley.
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Present.
And Vice Chair Rogers.
Here. Okay, can we get approval of the minutes from the October 8th meeting?
So moved to approve as submitted.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oral comments from the public, since I only see one public and we know what she's here for. I really don't think we need to open it up to oral public comment, so let's skip on to the next one. Business at hand. Okay, the first one tonight is public hearing to consider approval of a conditional use permit for accessory structure 20 feet 9 inches high. The applicant is Tammy Trent. Can we get some background on this, please?
Yes, Chairman Mobley and planning commissioners. So yeah, this is a conditional use permit to allow an accessory structure to have a height of 20 feet 9 inches. The Fortuna Municipal Code allows detached accessory structures to have a maximum height of 15 feet, and then it does have a clear provision that allows up to 30 feet with a conditional use permit. So I think we've been doing a number of these over the last couple of years, so I think some of you are familiar with this type of use permit. So first I'll go over just the location and then the site plan itself. So the project is located on Pineview Drive, which is north of Kenmar Road. And let's see. So this is just the overall city map, Fortuna Boulevard, and then Kenmar Road. And then Pineview is a private road with sort of larger lots. And it just extends to Mill Creek here. Slow. And then this is a close-up of the site. Here's Pineview Drive here, and the applicant's parcel is outlined in blue. It does kind of have an irregular shape here. And you can see, sorry, it's not Mill Creek, it's Jameson Creek to the north. And just for context, so Kenmar Road is just to the south of the site. And then there is this residential subdivision to the east on Xavier Court, which is pretty much getting built out now. But Pineview is kind of older homes, or not old, but they've been established there, I think, since the 60s and 70s. And you can see they're larger lots, a couple of acres in size each. So the Pineview, again, is a private road. The applicant's parcel is developed with a single-family residence. It does have a garage attached to the house, and there's also a shop to the north. And then the proposed garage, so it's a 2-car garage with with the additional height in the roof for just storage of equipment and RVs and things like that. And it is located in the southeast corner. And the site plan that I'll show you, it does meet the minimum setbacks. So we would call this, I'm sorry, my pointer is dying. I think the battery got left on. So the rear is to the right of the screen. That's designated the rear setback, and that setback will be 30 feet. And then the other two are the sides. The minimum is 7 feet on those. So this is the site plan, and I'm no longer able to point, so I apologize. I think we'll do fine now. Here's one. So again, here's the driveway and the existing residence, and then the garage proposed in the southeast corner. And you can see that there is a 30-foot setback on this side. 7 is the minimum in the R1, this is the R110 zone. And then there's like a 30-foot or so setback on, this is another side here. And then there will be a gravel driveway. And these are the elevations. So you can see it's just a standard detached building design. It's got a somewhat pitched roof. And keep in mind that the height, the 21 feet 9 inches, is to the peak of the roof. So the edges of the building are going to be lower than that. So, if you're thinking about any impact, the height is even further away than the edge of the building, further away from the neighboring properties. So, let's see, I did email you a couple of mistakes or errors that were in the staff report. The address is 20, let's see, it's correct on the agenda. 2608 Pineview Drive, not 2680. What was the second one? I know that the zoning, the RA43 in that last paragraph it's actually the R110 residential single family with the 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, which is reflected in the rest of the staff report and the findings. So that was just that one section that was overlooked. There was another one. Do you remember what it was, Tammy? The what?
Lot size.
Oh, the lot size, 16.9 acres, and it is, what, did you get that?
It was 15, around there.
5? Is it around 5 acres? Under 3 acres, okay, thanks. I think you guys got that email. So with the use permit up to 30 feet, anything exceeding 15 feet in height, conditional use permits do have findings, and those are attached to the resolution. And basically, it's compatibility with the neighborhood and screening and setbacks and traffic and things of that nature. So as far as the distance to adjoining properties and developments, so I did just a really rough estimate, and the distance to this residence is approximately 100 feet. And that would be, just for comparison, 100 feet is a normal property line length in the R110 zone. So that's a fairly significant distance there. And then it's approximately 70 feet to this house, and then about 60 feet to this house. And keep in mind that this is the rear of these houses, so that's kind of less of a visual impact there. And then there are trees and shrubs along the property lines. And I think just the fact that, the design of the garage is, really typical for a detached garage. And, I think having a pitched roof is a nice addition where that fits in more with the residential neighborhood as opposed to a flat roof that might be more industrial. And then, even the garage doors have a design which kind of breaks up any, if anyone considers the mass of the building. So I think it fits in. As far as the rest of the findings, there won't be any traffic generation associated with the garage, because that would normally be associated with a residential development. No emissions. The landscaping and screening, open space, lighting, none of those will be created as a result of the garage. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll hand that back to the commission.
Seems pretty straightforward.
I have one. It's a good project, nice piece of property, good place for a shop. The 7-foot setback, I mean, I looked at that and I thought that was seems like that's the back of the shop. Now, I guess if you say that the road is the front, then technically that's the side, and that's how that 7-foot works.
So the setback is established in the zoning code.
Right,
And
yeah,
so the setback is defined as the property line that is opposite the front. So if the front is along Pineview Drive, then the rear is automatically the opposite.
back side of it.
That's the rear. That would be the 30-foot setback. And then the side is just the, perpendicular to the front and the rear property line.
Yeah,
What's your question?
yeah, no, I see, I didn't catch it, and then I reread it and looked at that, and went, well, okay, that's okay in that application.
The 7, are you talking about the 7-foot?
So, yeah, the 7,
Okay. Yeah, so under those zoning standards, you could have two houses that are, 7 feet on one side and 7 on the other, and that's, for example, that's what you have over on Xavier Court. That's an R110 zone. This is the same zoning standard, or the zoning district as Pineview Drive. And you can see how close these two houses are to each other. So, even if this detached garage were down here, it could be 7 feet from that property line.
yeah, and that's enough space to paint, maintain, re-roof if you had to, or whatever. I mean, that's the whole point
Yeah.
on that.
I mean,
Okay.
7's not huge, but that's really typical for a single-family zoning district.
So just for clarification, for learning purposes for myself, the front of a building or the back of a building doesn't have to do with where the doors, like the garage doors are, it's where the road is that correct? Well,
Right. So the orientation of the building is not, there's no regulations or control over that in the code.
okay,
And that's not what determines the front.
okay, that would,
That's a really common idea.
It is,
that,
okay.
Oh, if the building faces this direction, then that's got to be the front. But that's not how the code defines it.
perfect,
It's really just the lot in relation to the road.
okay, thanks.
Any more questions for staff? Okay, we're gonna open up for public comment. Would you like to come up and say something about your project?
Chair Mobley and Commissioners, thank you for considering my project. There is very large trees all along the back of the property line and the side, so you cannot see where the garage is going to be from either of the houses that are close. That's why we chose that location, and basically it's just going to be used to store a camper and a hunting trailer in. So we won't be a lot of traffic back there. We're trying to make it nice looking to match the house. I don't want an ugly building on my lot. We're going to be the ones that see it, not the neighbors. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer anything.
So we just did a lot line adjustment on that property not that long ago, right?
Yes, but I never did. My daughter was going to build on the lot that's right next to it. I own that whole thing,
Yeah.
a little lot there. My daughter was going to build a house on that lot. She changed her mind, so we actually never filed the lot line adjustment. So it's
go.
still the same one. So
Okay.
nothing was ever finished on that one.
All right. Anybody have questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, looking to close public comment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, back to you guys. Any questions, concerns, anything going on? They want to make a motion on it, get it over with. Tell her.
I'll move that we approve the conditional use, do I need to read this verbatim? I move that to adopt resolution P-2019-3021. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Fortuna approving a use permit for the accessory structure 20 feet, 9 inches in height.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner McClendon? Yes. Chairman Mobley?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Rogers?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah.
All said and done. Okay. Now we're up for number 2. A public hearing to consider the general plan conformance finding for the right-of-way abandonment. Applicant is Abe Stevens. This one looks like it gets a little into some depth.
Yeah, just because of the nature of the property, which I'll go over. Abandonments, you can call it an abandonment or a vacation of the right-of-way, are usually fairly straightforward. And this property is large and undeveloped, so that kind of helps it, kind of takes care of some of the issues, but then there are other issues. But the fact that it's not developed kind of lends itself to support of the city, so we want to be flexible for the applicant. But we'll go through it and kind of talk about the issues. So the project location, it's located to the north of Redwood Way, and it does include both of these. They look like separate parcels, but that's just the way the assessor parcel map shows it. But it is one parcel. So you can see it's vacant, it's adjacent to Strong's Creek on one side, and then Springville Avenue on the other. I'll show you a map that there are identified wetlands on the property, and it's basically this darker green area here. The kind of stormwater flows north-south into a pipe on Redwood Way. But the property, that you can see here, that's kind of the brownish color, is not wetland. So it's a pretty small strip on this property. There's more significant wetlands to the north. And this kind of gives you some context. So it's the applicant owns this parcel here. You can see Strong's Creek again there. So the subdivision map that I'll show you includes, there are 3 large parcels that are still vacant, and that's called the Springville Estate subdivision map. And so you've got the Lawndale area, Springville Avenue to the west, Sinistrera subdivision to the east, and I'm not sure what this is called to the north, but I call it the Joseph Street area, just because Joseph Street does run east-west there. And then the Brazil property is the other large vacant land to the east across Strong's Creek, and then we have Redwood Memorial Hospital, and then you had just reviewed that Fitzy development there, so that kind of gives you the context. And you can see that, as you'll see on the subdivision map, this area was master planned for full development with the single-family lots, and it did establish infrastructure, storm drain, utilities, and the roadways. So that's kind of what, as just for future planning, we still look at how to maintain the development potential of vacant land. So even though, in this case, the applicant at this point is only interested in building a single-family home on that parcel, things change. Either he may subdivide in the future or may sell it, or, even long-term, 20 or 30 years in the future. We still look at maintaining the subdivision potential and infill development. So this is that subdivision map of that property. Redwood Way is this curved line here, and then this is the applicant's property. Jameson Creek is at the top of the map, and then the red outlined area is the 50-foot right-of-way that is being requested to be abandoned. And then there's a dashed line that actually extends from 2nd Avenue, which is the existing sewer line. So that easement would be retained. So there would be just this 20-foot sewer easement that would remain to serve 2nd Avenue and Guido and that area. And it would be the 50-foot area that would be abandoned. And you can see the lower portion would be completely eliminated. So that's 50 feet wide by about 500 feet long. And then the rest of that would just be the 20-foot sewer easement. And so you can, on this map shows the future, so the road layout. This is basically the master plan for the area. And Second Avenue runs east-west, and this pointer's dying now. And so what they planned, they planned for Second Avenue to go through. So actually, this right-of-way was adopted when the subdivision map was recorded. And so we've got Lawndale to the left, and Springville down there at the bottom, Redwood Way over to the right. And then, so the future, connection for Second Avenue runs through that property. And then there's this looped, the looped section that is also an existing right-of-way. So it goes all along there and then through the applicant's property and then all the way back to Lawndale. So that would allow, you can see that they planned for single-family parcels on both sides of that lot of the road that would, kind of develop the same kind of pattern that you see at the bottom of the map. Are there any questions about that? It can be a little confusing.
Well, yeah, so that was part of some planning. Some of that was the intent to address housing, both from an infill standpoint and from an affordability. Now, I have mixed feelings about some of that, but this looks like that was solid planning when that was laid out. There's probably, that could be subdivided into probably 20 parcels with that layout, and that's a lot of housing. Now, I'm really not in the business of telling people what they can or can't do with their private property per se, but the planning, the sewer easements already in there, utilities and that stuff, and I'm not convinced that I would allow that. Apparently nobody cares enough to show up to talk about it.
No, the applicant absolutely would be here. He did have to go out of town on business.
Okay. So how do you mitigate that? Because it's at some point, that's probably going to get built. The infill, you're near public transportation, you're near the hospitals, you're in town.
It's the hospital piece that concerns me. It's so close to the hospital and.
Well, it's being built out by the
Yeah.
Fitz development on the other side too. So that area is filling in.
Right.
And if you get old, it's not a bad thing to live near the hospital.
In fact, across Redwood Way, there is a retirement community, isn't there?
Say that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
So we can, I have a few more, a little bit more. But, so the other thing that I would like to also point out is the street frontage along Redwood Way does have what's called a non-buildable easement. So the intent, and that's something that, even today, the city engineer doesn't like to see access onto, an arterial road like that. So the idea was that all the traffic would come off of Second Avenue and Lawndale and through the property. So that kind of plays into some of the issues here. So the city engineer, in reviewing the building permit that the applicant has submitted, it's not been approved yet, but is requiring a driveway to Second Avenue and still is maintaining that non-buildable easement along Redwood Way. So that's just really a traffic consideration that, is pretty much always maintained unless there's some mitigating reason.
So the fact that this is in there the way it is, it was drawn up to be spec'd out
Right.
to create as many housing lots
Yeah.
as possible. Now with, they want to change the lot size later on. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what's the end game. And I
Yeah,
guess that's
so
where I'm
right
going.
now, the applicant is only interested in building a single-family residence for his own use. So it's a 5.5 acre parcel, and would like to actually use this area. The he feels that the setback for his house, to settle his house, he'd like to put it next to the creek, near the creek, but he's got a setback from that right-of-way because it's a road. You have to measure a, 20-foot setback from that, and then there's also a setback from the creek. So that's going to give him a little bit of extra room. And the other issue is the wetlands that have since been identified. So you can see his parcel is on the bottom, there's Redwood Way, and there's that strip of wetlands that is on the west side of his property. And the parcel to the north now has submitted a subdivision map to the city, which will be coming to the Planning Commission at some point. And so they would develop that section of road that goes from Second Avenue to the applicant's property. So you've got development to the north now and Second Avenue being developed. In fact, this section, which I can't point at. Let's see if this one is charged up yet at all. Yeah, so this parcel in the middle is being proposed with the subdivision, and then they are developing Second Avenue, which would end right here, the paving. And what the city engineer is proposing as a condition of approval, so in exchange for abandoning this portion, that at least the applicant but dedicate the right-of-way for a turnaround, a cul-de-sac on that property. So that would, so that would allow the continuation of this development in the way that it's been proposed, in the way that this right-of-way has been dedicated. And then at least for the short term would take care of, the traffic issues associated with this dead end, and kind of be in exchange for the city giving up significant amount of right-of-way. And then that would also allow, it would create, or it would maintain the access that would allow future development of this property, as opposed to, just eliminating one of the problems would be eliminating all of this easement and then having, a single-family building there blocking any future road. It just maintains the potential development of that property in a little bit of a more committed manner. So,
Liz, could I ask a quick question? Because you mentioned about, and I'm referring back to his letter dated October 14 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me a perspective where the house is, can you go back to the previous picture there? Would you give me a perspective where he's talking about putting the home? Because he's saying that 90-foot diameter cul-de-sac would put him into the 1% flood zone, and I'm just trying to get a perspective where he's looking to build on the property.
That's one of the reasons his building permit has not been approved. It was submitted actually a year ago, and he resubmitted about a month ago, but his site plan doesn't allow us to evaluate where he's really proposing the house in relation to, the other features there, the creek, that's creek setback, either the easement or the right-of-way, and the floodplain. So he just brought up the floodplain as an issue.
See, and that's where I was getting confused by his letter. It sounds like he's just throwing things out there with not really a plan in place right now, which is kind of hard for me to even come up with any, I don't want to say discussion, but decisions I can make based on what he's trying to propose, and we have no idea what he's proposing to build.
Yeah, it has
Right.
been a moving target.
Right.
Absolutely. And we're trying to accommodate him with eliminating the easement. I think
And then I see that same letter, his point 3 there about being concerned that a right-of-way for potential road easement would allow the public right-of-way to his property, but is that a thing?
Yeah, right now, so the way this map dedicated the right-of-way, normally what we would do is, if there isn't any imminent development, so, there aren't any homes or parcels being developed here yet or created, we would normally do this as what we call an irrevocable offer of dedication. where the city has the right to acquire that easement when the city is ready to do it. So when development, would benefit from it. But what they did on this map for some reason is they dedicated the right-of-way. So it is a public right-of-way. And right now, the public does, technically have the right to walk on here. Not that they have any interest in doing it.
Right, but technically it is,
Yeah.
but it's not like a thing. It's not like an established path that people
Right.
are walking with their dogs.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so
just
I think
was-
what
it was
he's
unclear
talking
to
about
me.
is, what's that?
It was just unclear to me, so thank you. Yeah.
And I think he's also, that's one of his concerns is that the cul-de-sac, well, I think it's fixing that problem. But the cul-de-sac is being offered as an irrevocable offer of dedication, and it will be constructed by the developer to the north with, when he puts his development in, he'll just finish it off with that cul-de-sac. So that's the intent. So the general plan policies that are in conformance with this are in your staff report. Let's see if I have any other, I think that's it. So yeah, I can hand that back to you and then we can discuss it some more if you have any questions. Oh, I just wanted to call out the conditions. So the resolution does have conditions of approval. And again, it's just that the cul-de-sac easement be developed, or that the easement be dedicated, and that the design be prepared, and then, but the construction would be done by the developer to the north, and then the rest of the conditions are really having to do with preparing the legal description. Those are really standard for, those are required for an abandonment, that someone prepare the legal description, and that, it gets recorded, which would affect the easement. So, yeah, the cul-de-sac is really in exchange for the loop. So that, the loop is part of the overall plan. This section down here is pretty much constrained by the, this long linear wetland.
Will you show me the loop on that map? Where's the proposed map?
Let's see, so it would extend down from the existing Berry Creek and come this way and then go back up to Second Avenue. So, oh, I'm sorry. So it would come off of, here's Second Avenue. And so this development is proposing to turn south and then kind of join in here. And then, so the loop it kind of comes down here. So the cul-de-sac would be right here. So instead of this linear, 50-foot wide, about 900-foot length would then just be a cul-de-sac right here. So that anyone coming from the north would have a turnaround, and that it would also maintain the opening for this parcel. So in the future, if and when someone, proposes to develop it, they're going to have direct, solid access that won't be blocked potentially by a single-family home. So, without preserving that, the applicant or anyone could, he could sell it, or he could propose a house here, and on a building permit, we would need to, we don't have any authority, staff doesn't have any authority to deny him building a house right there. So that would kind of prevent anyone in the future from using that, what would be an existing road, what will be a developed road there. So that kind of, having the cul-de-sac there just maintains, the ability to develop it in the future.
And that property that in the north there is owned by someone else, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it also maintains their right to develop that property as they see fit.
Yes.
'Cause if it was blocked there on the south, that could create potential problems for them.
Yes, and, yeah, and it just continues,
It's about all of those parcels, yeah, and city plan and future infill, yeah.
so I think we're, the city is acknowledging, okay, someone can come in and they can alter this configuration if they want to, but overall, generally the plan is still gonna be there. The potential will be there, but, okay, if you don't wanna follow this exact layout, you don't have to. We wanna give flexibility, and, a single-family residence by itself isn't going to harm that unless it blocks the existing road or a future existing road.
And the petitioner here's issue is also the fact that it could push him back into a wetland based on where he places that home with his easement, correct?
Well,
That's what I'm kind of reading here.
It says it
he
puts it into
asserts,
the
but-
flood zone, but I thought the flood zones were.
See, that's why, I come back to the point, I have a hard time doing any kind of action without having a better idea what it is that he's trying to propose.
Exactly.
Well, I don't,
Because,
I
like you said, it's a
disagree with
moving
that, though.
target.
I disagree with that though, because I feel like this is its own standalone issue. We don't ever know if he's gonna be able to have the finances to build his home later. That's why he's asking us to take a look at step one, this issue right here. And then he's gonna decide what he's gonna do, because they're really not connected. He could get this approved and then sell the property.
right,
And honestly, it would be in the best interest of him to maintain some sort of access, because a single family or a 5-acre parcel that's not developable for the future is worth way less than a 5-acre parcel that's developable for the future for someone else. Just say he doesn't have the money to do it, because he was saying he's not a developer.
Right.
And that would cost time.
Which is why it's important, I think, to maintain some easement. He's asking for, the city to abandon that loop and also not to require him to have any easement. I don't
Right.
disagree, but I think it is important for not just his ability to develop or sell that property, but for those other property owners to maintain their ability to develop and sell their properties, right?
I agree with you 100%, but I also think that that's why the city proposed what they proposed. They're pleasing both people. So he's asking us in that letter to do things that we're not that the city's not proposing, nor is the city asking us to do that.
So how does he, right now, how would he drive on and off his parcel?
how would we what?
So he wants, he's gonna go out and,
There's
There's
multiple
that way.
ways to get out there.
Yeah.
There's Second Street on one end, off of Guido and Second, on that end, off of Berry, and off of Shamrock.
are those, other than this easement, is the parcel, or is that parcel landlocked? Does he have other deeded access that he can legally get in and off his property other than those two stubs where the streets end?
No, there's only, that's right, because you have the river here, the
Right.
creek. This is all private land, so there is only the existing 50-foot, the extension of, I guess that's Berry Creek, and then the extension. So there's only this point, and, there's Redwood Way, which actually there's no legal access there.
Right, well, the point, Redwood's a thoroughfare, people are driving fairly fast, they're on their way to the house, you don't want to run in front of an ambulance, a bad outcome, so I get that. Unfortunately, that to some extent limits his access on the property, but we didn't create that problem for him. His letters are well-written, he makes some good points, but I'm not there yet on abandoning.
It predates his purchase of the property also, right? Like he purchased this property and was aware that this easement was on the property when he
Yeah,
purchased
we
it.
had multiple pre-application meetings.
If he read the title report.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's also a wetland, and it was on the market for 7 years. No developers wanted to touch it because it's gonna cost so much money to develop.
So, you gotta mitigate the wetland, or you gotta move it.
So I understand that the general plan was to develop that, but in reality, it sat on the market for 7 years and nobody touched it.
That one piece, but not the rest of it, right? And the conversations about the general plan for that whole area, all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parcels, not just the 2 that he owns.
Well, so he's got, 35 or 40% of that parcel that became not developable after the city plan was put in. That is somewhat of a,
His is about, maybe 25% at the most. I think it's even less.
Yeah, because it's not all the way up the top of that map, right? It's just right there at the bottom
Exactly,
part.
yeah.
The line is here.
Yes.
so
Yeah.
there were changes after that 1998 development. There were unforeseen changes after that easement was created in 1998.
No, I understand that, but maybe I'm confused. The resolution that we're looking at addresses all that, correct? It addresses, it's saying, we will give you this abandonment of this right of way if you provide the cul-de-sac with a 45-foot radius. It says all that, so the city's covering its bases for future development.
Yeah.
I think that you guys were just reading his letter. He might not want that, but that's what we're looking at to approve. Nothing, not his letter.
But
You're
we're,
right.
That's true.
right, but the letters are a part of the,
No, his letter is to address the issues that he disagrees with the city's proposal for the
exactly.
abandonment easement, correct, Liz?
Yeah, he is asking that the city not require the cul-de-sac easement.
But has the city, so you're saying that we could approve this resolution that you've prepared for us with an amendment? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not, that's what he's asking.
Right, that's correct,
That's what
which
Okay.
isn't even on the table.
Which is why I've been saying we can't accept any kind of amendment without knowing what his intentions are.
Oh, no, I'm not in favor of amending. I'm saying that we just have what we have in front of us is what the city thinks is the best way to protect, just like you're saying, the parcels around it and for future development.
Would it be appropriate for us to postpone this
Exactly what I was
until
gonna
the
suggest.
applicant could come in and perhaps clear up some of these?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. I mean, reading the letter is, he got some strong feelings about it.
I'm sorry, the applicant is the city.
Right, I
The
don't,
applicant tonight is the city, but
No,
he's,
the
Not him. His letter
asking
is in
No.
protest to the
he's
amendment.
asking.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
No, the applicant is Abe
Steve,
Stevens,
yeah.
the property owner. He did
Yeah.
Right.
request the abandonment of the easement, so we did submit an application.
Okay.
And then
I don't know, I mean, you could do that.
I just don't know what purpose that would serve.
Yeah, I
what, to
agree.
hold it over?
Well, he's said everything that we have in his letter that he
But
has to
he's-
say, and we've said it to the city, and the city has come back with what they recommend that we approve, correct?
I don't know that he would be able to really, he hasn't submitted a really clear map for his single-family home. That's kind of been one of the issues that we have.
That's the yellow flag for me, and that's why I'd like to talk to him more. There are some unclear things about what he's asking, and I understand that the city wants to encourage development, and the city's offered a compromise, but he's then sent a letter saying he doesn't like the compromise, and we could certainly approve the compromise, but we could also just ask him, what, if we approve this compromise, what is your plan moving forward?
If we approve the compromise, though, we give you the power well, if we don't give you the power, then that limits where he can build his house, correct? And without this approval, then if he submits a plan to build a house, you can't tell him, no, he can't build it in certain areas. So we have to have this in place in order to prevent him from building his house,
Right up
correct?
in front of the road, yeah. So I also know, and it's very clear and fair to say that he is also, has been really urgent in getting this moving forward, and we have scheduled it pretty quickly. And it does, you're making a recommendation, basically, it does go to the council, so he'll have a second bite at that.
Okay, and
If
they'll
I-
go into the council, then he
Yeah.
can step up and
Yeah, and it's
say his
something I've
piece
just,
there.
yeah, and I've discussed that with him.
Yeah, I mean, conditional on the cul-de-sac, which makes a lot of sense, I think, it sounds like to all of us.
Yeah.
What I'm reading with this letter is that, one, he already knew about this because it was in place when he bought it, so buyer beware.
Yes, absolutely.
The other part is, what I'm reading in this, is that he's concerned he's gonna have to go out and get flood insurance because it's gonna cost him more money. That's what I'm kinda reading here, because now it also limits where he can build on the property, which is what he doesn't want.
Well,
doesn't
and he
want that
also
confinement.
he wants to build, and he has said this, he wants to build next to the creek in this area. Yeah, it's a 5.5 acre parcel, and I know that the rest of the area, the parcel is wide open. So it's not, you know, I appreciate that he wants to build in the nicest spot, maybe, to him. There is ample room to move a single-family residence.
I see no reason why we can't vote on this tonight. Like
You
you
can
said, it goes
appeal
to
a
the city
decision.
council.
If he doesn't like it.
Going to the council, then yeah.
We're just making we're making the recommendation to the council, and then
Yes.
they make the final call.
Correct.
Yep,
Yeah.
okay.
And the
Everybody agree on
recommendation that we're making does preserve the city's ability to condition future road access along that frontage.
So Liz, all we need to do if we're ready to make a motion, I guess, is just to read the resolution motion itself, but no, just the title? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
If you're good with
Everybody,
it.
anybody else have anything to say on that? Is all in agreement on that? It sounds about right, going back to the council anyway.
Right.
Then if he has issues, he can bring it up with them and they can kick it back down to us.
I think he'd be satisfied with that. In fact, I know, we've had that conversation.
Okay, let's do that.
And then I'll make the motion that we approve the resolution number P-2019-3020. And I just make the motion, we approve it.
I'll second the motion.
Sorry, go ahead. We gotta, please, yeah. Get ahead of myself.
Bradley.
Yes.
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 Aye.
No.
Okay. So goes to council and they can do what they will. Okay, we have any correspondence tonight? Anything you got?
I don't have anything to add. No.
All good. Okay, anybody have anything
you.
they want to bring up?
Thank
Anything
you.
going on in the community?
What's going on with that hill that's sort of unstable? I can see it as I'm driving in on Runnerville Road. I've been
They're off
curious.
Hilltop.
Yeah, Hilltop. Seems to get worse every year.
Yeah, that's under,
They're still building on it. That's why I'm curious.
the slope itself is under a building permit to be recompacted. So that was supposed to have been done this summer, and I'm not sure why it wasn't done. The reason that the slope is, has been cut like that is apparently when that development was being developed, some fill was pushed over the side of the hill and was not compacted. So then, but the houses they're stable. They're built in the original soil, the stable soil. It's just that the fill ran off.
Fill soil is slipping off the edge.
Exciting.
Right, and to appropriately replace it, a geotechnical report was prepared where, the best way to do that is to do that kind of a 90-degree angled cut.
Cut, okay.
So that, it can be compacted properly. And then, I don't know, there's been correspondence and discussions going on between the developer is Danco, and then, there's been the city engineer. They have a geotechnical engineer, and then the city has a geotechnical engineer who is reviewing their work. And so there's just been discussions going back and forth. But it is moving forward. They were about to start work, and then it started to rain. So then the geotechnical engineer said, well, you need to cover it up so that soil stays stable. So it looks bad. Right now it's stable. Everyone says it is stable. The geotechnical engineers are okay with it as it is.
They're working on actively mediating it.
They are.
Okay, thank you.
What do we get? We have any information since everybody watches at home and asks me about this? What's going on in the 12th Street project? How far along? Looks like they're moving quite along, digging a lot of holes and filling them back up, so.
Yeah, I think, are they pulling,
I think they've topped some of the poles, so I think that the plan was to be done by
Yeah.
the end of this month.
yeah.
Wow.
I think-
With their part of it, there'll be, the other utilities, PG&E will be done with their portion of it, and then the other utilities will be pulling their lines through and so that's going to take a little bit
Yeah,
longer.
AT&T hasn't been really responsive, and I think that may be 6 months or a year away.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, but I think they're done with the undergrounding.
Yes.
And now, in fact, so what they were doing while they were doing the digging, and then they would just patch it with the asphalt, like with the sidewalk areas, and the road sections were like just a really quick patch job. And now they're having their sub-consultant come through and
I see them fixing the sidewalks where they cut and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then,
yeah, so I think that's their finished work.
sweet. Yeah, that was gonna look so nice when it's done.
Unfortunately, they won't be removing the poles until AT&T comes through. But it'll happen. We just have to
We'll get there
hurry up and wait.
before next Auto Expo, right?
I think so.
No?
Have faith.
One more year of photoshopping out
Said it would.
rules.
It could surprise us, though.
Okay. All right, any other business? Okay. All in favor to adjourn?
So